Good afternoon from sweet Jamaica. It's Matthew here. I am in Arnett Gardens, Trenchtown with the famous Big Stone from Big Stone TV and getting a nice sit-down interview here right in the community. We're hanging right by George Pong's place and just enjoying the afternoon, vibing out. I got a lot of questions for Big Stone because he's been part of this community for a long time. He knows everything about it, does a lot for the community, and definitely do give him a subscribe down below. I'll put the link right down, just click show more. All right, so Big Stone, so cool to meet you finally. And thanks for having me in your community here, a place that maybe not so many people have been to before.
Well, as you know, Matthew, the honor is mine. And it is an honor to actually be on your platform and to be able to let the world know how powerful and beautiful the communities of not just Arnett Garden or Beverly Garden or Jonestown or Trenchtown or other communities, but they're great, great, great people in the community, and we want them to know that, hey, it is not as bad as they say it is. You can always come on down. They're great people, they're civilized people, and not much. It's just a handful of those who, who are, and I call them misguided youths, who actually get themselves into trouble and do the wrong thing. But a good 90% of every community that I've ever been into, I enjoy myself, I meet great people, and I just have a great, great time, actually.
Can you tell me a little bit about your upbringing?
Well, actually, I was born in St. Anne, the parish where the Right Honorable Marcus Garvey was born. But I grew up in Enfield St. Mary, a very farm-stricken community. I grew up extremely poor. I went to school barefooted. I can understand hunger because at times, even though my father and mother worked hard, but they were so poor themselves that they could barely survive and to take care of us. I came from a family of 9. And, but the great thing about my family, my mom and dad, Pearline and Rodney, was that they made sure that we had something to eat. Whether it be a little piece of bread with some tea, they would make sure that we don't go to bed hungry. And also, they made sure that we went to school. And that is why I grew up to be the way I am today, because I grasped a firm education. And that is what I'm imploring to anyone that is watching this video as well. Go to school and learn something. It will help in the future.
And tell me about your channel, because you've got some pretty heavy hitters that you've interviewed in the past. I've seen your Yellowman interview, Eek A Mouse. You were involved with a member of the Wailers recently, helping her out.
Beverly, Kelso.
Yeah, tell me about your channel.
Well, I started on YouTube on the 17th of April 2011. As you see, my channel is more focused on living for the sake of others. How best can I help someone who is in need? Yes, I've gone on to other areas. I've done a lot of talents and so on. And that is why you have a Nesbeth or a Turbulence or a Warrior King or a Natty King. Is because as a motivational speaker, when I met these youngsters, they didn't come begging for anything. But what I saw was talent. I saw a diamond in the rough. And all I did was just to brush away the cobweb a little bit. And then the diamonds began to sparkle. And that is why I enjoy doing that. But most of the time, I go back to the days of artists, especially those foundation artists who have paved the way for a lot of us. You've seen me done work with Junior Byles. You've seen me work with Yvonne Sterling. You've seen me work with Ernest Wilson. You've seen me recently did an award ceremony with George Pong for Beverly Kelso, the sole surviving Wailers. Recently, I interviewed Jerry Matthias from the Maytals, Toots and the Maytals, asking the government to recognize these stalwarts, give them a national award, an order of distinction, an order of merit, or an OD, and let them have their roses while they're alive, because it's always great to give people their roses when they're alive, and when they're dead 6 feet under, they can't smell the roses and they can't feel the textures of the roses. They can't hear all the nice words that you say at the funeral.
Real. And what's coming up on your channel these days?
Well,
Up and coming.
recently I did Beverly, Kelso, and dancehall Thursday with O'Neill Famous. I want to big up O'Neill Famous. I want to big up Peter Metro. I want to big up Major Mackerel. They saw the work that I've been doing over the years. I've done a lot of work, not just for artists, but for just ordinary Jamaican. And they say, Big Stone, we need to honor you. So come December 7th, I will be honored by the dancehall fraternity, myself and dancehall icon, Ricky Trooper. Now to be honored along with someone of the caliber of a Ricky Trooper, that in itself made me feel proud of myself and proud of what I have done over the years. And to know that I'm getting my roses when I'm alive makes me feel good. Thank you so much.
What are some misconceptions people have about Trenchtown? Because to be honest, I've driven by here many times. I've never been in Arnett Gardens, like in the community myself. What's something people should know about this place?
Well, Trenchtown, as you know, is holy ground, as I would call it. All of the greats of reggae music trod through these lands. Even if they wasn't born here, like say a Jimmy Cliff, who was born in St. James. But Jimmy Cliff trod through these lands. In a few minutes, I'm going to take you down to the famed Ambassador Theater, where Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Bunny Wailer, Alton Ellis, Toots and the Maters, Ken Booth, and all the greats actually went on that stage at the Ambassador Theater on the Bear John's Opportunity Hour. And this place, Trenchtown, is such a wonderful place. A lot of people say from time to time, and then there's some truth, true, about gang violence. Gang violence is everywhere, but sometimes, especially in certain areas that at one time or another was under the influence of politics. We have had situations that happen, but I'm here to say I come here practically every day. I visit most of the inner city communities, the Jakes Road, the Jarrett Lane, the Almond Town, the Dunkirk, the McGregor Gullies, the Tivoli Garden, the South Side, the Tel Aviv, the Aki Walk, the Jackson Town, the Cassava piece where my father came from. And there's nothing but great human beings there. Great people are in these communities. I visit all these communities and great people are in these communities. So there's a lot of misconception that there's not but killers here, war-torn community where there's a lot of violence going on and so on. From time to time you'll have misguided youths have their differences and there are deaths here. Let's not sugarcoat the thing, but for the most part, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to spend my happy times.
What kind of changes have you seen, say, in the last decade or so, spending so much time here? Because I don't know, would you say the reputation was even rougher back then? Or
of course, let's go back to even the 80s. The 1980 election was one of the most vicious election that happened in Jamaica. And that's why I have to big up elders like George Pang and, of course, Christopher Coke Dudus. Because it was George Pang and Christopher Coke Dudus that really worked together and brought both warring factions of the football league together. Because from time to time, the Arnett Garden Football Club and the Tivoli Garden Football Club, they would meet. And when they do meet, based on the political differences and so on, shots would have been fired. They met at the National Stadium, shots were fired. They met at Up Park Camp, shots were fired inside of Up Park Camp. So when Captain Burrell saw what was happening, they decided to bar both football league club from the league. And George said to himself, "Man, we cannot afford for this to happen. We need to do something." And he risked his own life because at that time, it was political violence everywhere, Tivoli Gardens, Arnett Gardens, different sides of the country and so on. And he risked his life and said, "I want to go to Tivoli Gardens. I want to go down there and speak to Christopher Duduscope to see how best we can stem the bloodletting, stem the flow of people losing their lives, if we can just come together and build together." And that's why I have to applaud George Palm. Big up yourself, George, anywhere you are. Christopher Coke not here in Jamaica, but I know that when you do come back, Christopher, it is going to be on your shoulders to kind of bring a sense of purpose, to bring a sense of living to these youngsters, because it hurt my heart. I'm 66 years old, Matthew, and to see young boys killing themselves, to see young boys wasting their lives behind prison bar. Look at the great Vibes Cartel. Look at the great Ninja, man. They're locked away for well over 10 years for Vibes Cartel. So if we can do something to kind of get them on the right track, you know, to kind of get them together, get them loving themselves and loving each other, then I'm all for it. And that is what I'm all about.
Do you have a message for any of these youths right now? Like any advice that you would give as someone who's grown up around this and seen the dark side of things?
Well, my advice, and I want you to take a page out of my book. I went to school barefooted. I didn't wear my first underwear until I was 12 years old. Nobody can tell me about old brock, and old brock mean hand-me-down clothes that somebody else had worn. I worn these clothes. And I'm saying I went to school, you know, I stuck in there. I didn't blame anything on my parents to say, well, how come those kids have and I didn't have? I just understand that I will be getting older and I will be able, with a good education, to be able to provide for myself. So I'm looking at you and looking dead in your eyes in the camera, and I'm saying to you, come on, kids. You have everything, the future. You're wearing Clarks to school these days. Stop that fighting among each other. Jamaica is the Garden of Eden. Look at Macho. When Macho come in and started Brass Kitchen, look how it flourished, and people start gravitating to the cooking and the culture. So we want to big up Matthew again for doing the hard work and seeing the culture and the value for what it's worth, and to come to Jamaica and to capture the realness like he's capturing now, the realness of what is happening in Jamaica. Jamaica is a beautiful country, kid. Every year for the last 25 years, we've killed over 1,000 people. And for what? What are we fighting for? We're not fighting for gold, we're not fighting for diamond, we're fighting for street corners and zinc houses and zinc fence. You know, a lot of kids want to be the man, to be in charge, to be able to lead. But you can do that. You can be the man, you can be in charge, but lead in a positive way. Be a role model, be a trendsetter, be a pioneer for your brothers and your sisters. And show love and compassion to your brother. That's what we're lacking. Let's get back to the 70s when we can love each other again.
Anything else you want to share before we explore a bit more?
Well, guess what? Jamaica's a beautiful country. From Negril Point to Port Antonio, it's only 150 miles. From the widest point from Manchester across St. Elizabeth, it's only 55 miles wide. So you look at Jamaica, 150 by 55, a small country, but we pack serious punch. Culture we're there, athletics we're there, the food, cuisine we're there. So let's get back to that punch with the love and be there. Let's be number one, not in crime and violence as they're projecting us as one of the most dangerous places to visit. But let's be the Jamaica that everyone wants to be a part of. Jamaica is my country. If I had the opportunity, and I've had the opportunity to live in the United States and elsewhere in the world, but this is where I want to be. Sweet Jamaica, a little bit, but with talawa. And nah lepia, for no reason at all.
Big Stone here, Trenchtown, and we're off to the theater now.
I'm just gonna take you, Matthew, down to the Ambassador Theater, where it all started with the Dear John Opportunity Hour. And you'll see where most of the greats get their chance to become greats themselves. And that is the beauty of Trenchtown. A lot of people say negative thing about our community, even though I wasn't born here, but I've been here so many times. I love the people from every aspect of this community. It doesn't matter the political divides. I just love the people and just want to show you how beautiful this community really is, you know. So we're going down 8th Street now, or 7th, no, this is 8th Street. And you see that building that says the Ambassador?
Yeah, that's it, right there.
Yeah, but we're gonna drive up a little bit closer so you can get a chance to see it. And to see the Ambassador Theatre. So take a look, you'll see. That's the Ambassador Theatre right there. Wow. That is the theatre that Bob Marley and Jimmy Cliff and Peter Tosh and Alton Ellis, Hortense Ellis, they got their first shot on performing on a stage. Jimmy Cliff, all the greats of the greats came through these doors. It's an open air theater, you know, but trust me, the wealth of Jamaica's knowledge of music is really there. So when you take a look at it, you'll see the Ambassador Theatre. This is where it all happens for Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Ernie Spear, all the greats of the greats. Toots and the Maytals, Ken Bolt, anybody who's anybody came through those doors.
Yep.
But basically, that's where it is. So we're gonna go down to the bottom of Trenchtown into Rima. If you look to your right, the police station, that's the borderline.
Okay.
That's the borderline right there. So we're into Rima. Okay.
So would you say that not too many outsiders end up coming into Trenchtown that often?
Well, a lot of people come here, but they come to the tourist section, which is First Street, Culture Yard. That is the most famous part of Trenchtown. But a lot of people still come here who know someone in here. You can't just come in here with a camera just like that.
Yeah.
If you look at the walls, you can see some of the greats that passed through here, you know. But this is Trenchtown. This is where it all started for a lot of artists. To your left, the First Street is coming up. It's First Street right there. You see all the pictures of the greats on the wall. Just take a look right there.
Oh yeah, Peter Tosh.
See it?
Oh, look at that one.
You see that?
Yeah.
It's First Street. It's where they have the Culture Yard and so on. And then every street you'll see where some of the greats used to live. There are certain signs that you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So you see we are Trenchtown, you see that? Right. Okay.
How many streets in total is it?
About up to 9th Street,
9th
10th
Street,
Street,
okay.
yeah. And remember when Bob saying, look at that sign right there, see it?
Yeah.
See, so we are Trenchtown. See right that sign right there? The legends. 5th Street, so it show you the legend, the different legends of 5th Street who used to live here. And if you look at that wall over there,
Yeah.
nice shot. See, Trenchtown Rock. So basically, you know, Trenchtown is a beautiful place. The people here, trust me, it's just a handful of people that sometimes, you know, get into conflicts, and they're everywhere. Like you say, if you go to places in the United States of America, places like Chicago, those places are considered dangerous places. They're called portions of Chicago Chirac. If you go to LA, you'll see the Crips and the Bloods. If you go to Compton, you'll see the Crips and the Bloods killing each other for no just reason. So you'll always have misunderstanding, and people, you know, will not see eye to eye with some people, you know, and of course you're going to have misunderstanding, but for the majority, it's not but niceness.
Really?
Not but niceness.
Yeah, it's been pretty relaxing hanging out all afternoon with George and just
Of
chilling
course.
and getting some nice fruits coming by, just relaxing. Yeah.
And then you'll talk to George, and George, you'll hear what George have to say about this beautiful place. This is his home. He's here practically every day, you know. This is where he spends most of his time, and this is where he wants to spend the rest of his life.
Oh.
Hanging out with some great people. We're turning on to 9th Street, going into Trenchtown again, going into Arnett Gardens, going into Pegasus. You know, you got so much different names, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is just a small tour of community, you know. When you come back to Jamaica, we get you more an in-depth look
Yeah, definitely.
as to what's happening in Jamaica.